Hello and welcome to Policy Bazaar. I'm Arjun Bhagat. Now, who doesn't want to save taxes given to us by the government in every financial year? But as March 31st comes closer, a lot of us make hurried financial decisions to save on taxes. And in the process, we make a lot of mistakes. Now, these wrong investments usually happen around this time when we get an email reminder from our CAs or our finance teams in office requesting us to submit proof of investments made. Now, to know more about tax planning and some interesting last-minute tax saving tools and how insurance can help us save tax at the 11th hour, we have with us Yashish Dahiya, co-founder and CEO of Policy Bazaar. Sure, Yashish, before we get into the more nitty-gritty parts of savings, what is that one tool through which we can save taxes immediately?
So from most of the friends that I speak to, not many people are aware of this, that the 20,000 rupee investment which is allowed in infrastructure bonds, the timeline has been extended by one more year. So this year, they can certainly make that 20,000 rupee investment. It's not a huge amount, but for anybody paying taxes, that saves about 6,000–7,000 rupees. And those also give you a good 8 to 10% return, which you can get tax-free. So that's one investment that they
So that's 20,000 rupees, you say?
It's the one that most people don't know about. So
yeah,
that is something.
I missed it last year.
Yeah, so you can invest 20,000 rupees at an 8 to 10% return in infrastructure bonds, and the government has extended the time period for this year. So you can certainly make that one investment at least.
What about investments in the more traditional products? I mean, can you go over those? Because those are also pretty important as far as investors go.
Absolutely. So see, there are two primary buckets into which you can get a tax break. One is ATC and the second is ATD. So ATD, just to run over that very quickly, is health insurance, where you can invest 15,000 rupees for yourself and 20,000 rupees for a senior citizen. And somebody can invest for their parents up to 20,000, so a total 35,000 rupee tax break is possible there. And then you come under ATC. Now, ATC is a very wide spectrum of investments that you can make. In the insurance category, you've obviously got the ULIPs and the traditional products where you can get certain returns. Traditional products can typically give you about a 5 to 6% return net of taxes, so after deducting taxes, because there's no tax on that. The ULIPs can give you a much higher return over a longer period of time, of course. And then you have pension plans. The pension plans are lower in the cost structure, much longer tenure, but they have certain restrictions. But when you get the pension amount, you are going to pay taxes on the pension amount. Whereas in the ULIPs and the traditional products, there are going to be no taxes. Now, all of these products, you can typically buy within about 10 to 12 days because they may or may not be a medical required. In pensions, there won't be a medical required. Then come the basic instruments of investment, which is mutual funds or fixed deposits. You can invest in a mutual fund. It is a good high return.
Or the savings schemes that we have, a lot of them.
And the mutual funds you will have, you can invest in one time or you can invest in an ELSS, which is an equity-linked savings schemes. The equity-linked savings schemes have a lock-in of about 3 years, whereas the FDs, if you want to get the tax break, you have to have a lock-in of 5 years. Just in case I did not mention, in the insurance piece also, you have to have a lock-in of 5 years. The mutual funds, you have a lock-in of 1 year. The advantage on these products versus an insurance is you can usually buy them within 1 to 3 days because there is only KYC to be done. In your own bank FDs, you can buy it within minutes because there is no KYC to be done because it's already done. Now, after these come some of the government instruments which have a slightly longer lock-in between 5 to 15 years. PPF, national savings certificates, post office, etc., etc. These can also give you returns. Now, a national savings certificate after deducting taxes.
But that's taxable, right?
National savings certificates, the interest you make on the money is taxable. So you will earn about 5.1%, which is very similar to what you would earn in a traditional insurance product. So about the same. However, you can also invest in PPF and NSC, which will give you slightly longer lock-ins, up to 15 years in a PPF, but you can get returns up to 7.5–8% over a longer period of time.
Right, and we've been talking about health insurance. You touched upon that. Can we just look at that and the kind of benefits that one gets, because parents are also included? What is the upper limit of health insurance now? Yeah,
so the health insurance for an individual, you can invest up to 15,000 rupees. Now remember, 15,000 rupees is a largest amount, but you can also cover things like OPD, etc. in this. So even things, you can have an OPD cover, and even if you buy medicines off the counter, those can also be covered in the 15,000. You could buy a reasonable cover for your parents, or the parents could buy it for themselves. So anybody can buy it for each other. up to 20,000 rupees you're allowed to invest in that. Now remember, if you are two spouses, you can both invest for your parents and you can invest 20,000 rupees each. So that is something that has been provided by the government specifically so that people do take care of their parents and do make those investments of 20,000 rupees. And I think it's going to also save cost in the longer run and has a tax break also. So up to 35,000 rupees per individual, per taxpayer, you can save as long as 20,000 is invested in the senior citizen and 15,000 is invested in a non-senior citizen.
Now, in a lot of the insurance plans, term insurance is also now included in.
Of course, that's in ATC.
Right.
So term insurance.
But that's not something that you can take in the last minute because you need to get medical tests
which
done.
Which is why I said for all the insurance plans, you will typically need to have at least a 12 to 15 day break.
So people better decide now in February and in March rather than wait for those 5-10 days.
If you've missed about 10th of March, it's very unlikely that you would get a medical based insurance plan, although insurance companies do usually extend it to about 7th of March, 7th of April. Usually they extend it to make sure that whatever documents they've collected before 1st of March, they do process them. But it's advisable that you invest before the 1st of March. So February is the right time frame to do that. It might get too late if you get in late, and some companies have a longer issuance cycle. There's one particular company that takes up to 2 months to issue a policy if medicals are associated. So given that, it's always advisable to get in time so that you don't have the last day rush unnecessarily.
Right, Yashish. And what about ATC? Now, can you elaborate on that? Do kids get benefits as far as their education is concerned? Yes. ATC has got a lot of options there. Yeah,
so ATC, besides the investment options that we've spoken about, has two more options. One is children's tuition fees. They can be covered under ATC. So if you have school-going children and you spend 40,000 rupees for their tuition fees, that is a part of ATC and you can get deduction for that. And also for home loan interest repayment. So the interest component that you're paying back for your home loan can also be covered under ATC.
That's an important one. Can you elaborate on the limits that there are? Because
up to 1 lakh rupees. If you're paying back on a home loan, up to 1 lakh rupees, you can get a tax break on that, and you can also get a tax break up to 1.5 lakh rupees.
And you can actually get a deferred tax break on that as well.
You can get a deferred tax break as well, and up to 1.5 lakh rupees on the principal repayment you can get. However, one has to realize a very important thing. When we spoke about investments, there are two areas. One is with insurance, one is without insurance. With insurance is the only piece where you will get a tax break each time. So you get a tax break today when you invest the money. When you get the money back,
so that's
you get a tax break. And all the interest you get in the middle is all exempt from tax. Even a pension plan does not have that. In the pension plan, you have to pay taxes. Even in an FD, in the end, when you receive the money, there are taxes.
So give us some examples, because this is an important product. So give us some examples of insurance products which one can go for.
As I said, the unit-linked insurance plans, if you have a long-term concept in mind, you could take those. If you are a short-termish, you can get into any of the guaranteed return products. There are guaranteed return products with as short time frames as 6 years, 5-6 years. You can invest in those and get returns. Typically, you will get about 5.2, 5.3% returns, which when you scale up for taxes come to about 8%. And you get this in a guaranteed manner. You invest about 100 rupees today. In 5-6 years time, you'll get about 1.35, about 135 rupees back. And in a guaranteed manner, no hassles, don't have to bother about the ups and downs of a market. But if you genuinely are investing for a corpus building purpose, do not do that. Invest in a long-term ULIP. There are some very low-cost ULIPs out there in the market. They've just come in recently in the last 5-6 days, and one should take advantage of those.
Right, and we are in election season. A lot of people may want to donate to political parties. What are the advantages of giving there and getting some sort of a tax break?
So there's a section called ATG, under which up to 1 lakh rupees of donation for most of the charitable activities is allowed. For the NGOs is allowed. However, there is a special section ATGGC, which is where or ATGGF, where you can donate to political parties. And there is no ceiling, so you can invest any amount.
And that's 100%.
That's 100% tax exemption. So if you were very wealthy and you wanted to donate 5 crore rupees to a political party, that entire 5 crores will be tax deductible. So yeah, that is the only place where there is no limit on how much you want to invest.
Yashish Daya, who's going to be answering your questions. We've got Kshitij Rai from Mangalore, and he says he's 23 years old, and he wants to go in for an endowment insurance policy, and he says my personal financial advisor has recommended Jeevan Anand of LIC or a term insurance or a mutual fund. He wants to buy a term insurance plan. He's interested in that, and he asks, am I eligible to buy one? Because my advisor has said that you need another policy from LIC before you can buy a term insurance plan. Yashish.
The advisor makes very little money from a term insurance plan, and he would like our friend to buy an endowment plan first.
Basically, he can go and buy it. He doesn't have to get another policy.
So basically, as long as you buy an endowment plan from the advisor will be quite happy. However, you're not going to decide for the advisor, you're going to decide for yourself. Well, if you invest in any endowment plan, do not expect a return of more than 4 to 6%. As long as you're comfortable with that return, please go ahead and buy any of the endowment plans. Most of them give you about the same return, and Jeevan Anand is a good one. Jeevan Anand is one of the better endowment plans, so no doubts there. As far as the term plan is concerned, as long as you have income and you are and you can provide proof of that income, and you are medically in a sound condition, you should be able to get a term plan up to about 10 to 15 times your annual income, and that should not be a problem. You can get it from LIC, you can get it from any of the private companies, there's no problem, and there is no conditionality of you having another insurance plan before buying a term plan. In fact, you need to buy a term plan first, and you can think about your investment plans later, because your family depends on your term plan to a large extent, or their happiness in the future depends on that term plan, should anything unfortunate happen. Now, that's how I would see it. Now, regarding your investment in a ULIP or a mutual fund, fortunately for you, and I've been saying this for about the last 6 months, that there is going to be a plan coming out, Now those plans are out. And in the last 6-7 days, there are plans out there which compete head-to-head with the mutual fund on cost and give you the benefits of a ULIP. So explore those, and go with any of those. You usually will not get it from the from a typical agent, because they would be more interested in selling you an endowment plan, not a ULIP, because a ULIP has very low payouts.
Right, yeah, Yashish, we've got just Kiran from Ludhiana, and she says, I am 34 years old and I bought a medical policy 6 years back, and I've continued till date. However, when I took the policy, I was a non-smoker, but since last year I've started smoking. Do I have to inform my insurer about the same, and will they renew the policy, and will there be an increase in premium? What will be the repercussions? So a lot of questions for the new smoker there.
You do not have to disclose this condition, because your policy cannot be cancelled on the basis of you starting smoking. Your policy is dependent upon your declaration on the day you purchased it. And if the insurance company had any doubt, or if the risk was too high, they had the option of doing a medical and checking things. But once they've taken on you as as an insured, if your circumstances change from then onwards, you genuinely do not have to make a declaration. It's usually considered good to make that declaration, but from a legal perspective, you're not entitled to make that.
Right, we've got Sunil Ahuja from Kolkata, and he says, I've taken a home loan of 60 lakhs from HDFC for a DDA flat in New Delhi. I'd like to know about any policy which covers the loan risk, as he's the only earning member of that family.
I'm assuming if he's taken a 60 lakh loan, he must be having a decent income as well, unless this is, and given this for a DDA flat, I think his income would be in the tune of about 20 to 30 lakhs. Which means he should be having a term cover as well. So my advice to him would be to take about a 2 crore rupee term cover, within which the 60 lakh would also be, a component. And that will probably be the cheapest route possible. It will be much cheaper than taking just a loan cover. So I would advise the route for the said gentleman to be take a base term cover, and obviously your loan, it's much higher than your loan amount. So it covers, in case of an unfortunate event, it will take care of the loan repayment, and it will take care of certain finances for the family. If possible, look at a plan which gives you annual payouts and some lump sum as well. So the lump sum can take care of the loan and a few immediate expenses, and the annual payout can take care of the children's expenses and make sure that the children have good education, etc.
Right, we've got Ankur Singh who's emailed to us and asks, he says, I want to invest 1 lakh a year for the next 12 to 15 years. I'm confused, he says, what should I take? A term plan, SIP in mutual funds, or a guaranteed return plan like Mahalife Gold from Tata AIA, because I want some life cover and a 12 to 14% return. That's being a little optimistic.
I don't think any guaranteed return plan which has got an insurance component with it can provide him a return of more than 6%, let alone 12 to 14%. So, you know, for all viewers, please do not take guaranteed return products assuming you're going to get 10%, 12% returns. That will not happen. If you want higher than 8%, really the only option for you is corporate bonds, because they do give you 11% up to 11, 12%. But remember, there is a risk associated with those, because if that corporate goes down or does not repay that funds, then you do not get it. So then they're not really, you know, gold standard in that respect. So the highest return possible from a fixed return is actually your FD and nothing else. And you know, your FD after taxes will end up giving you about 5 to 6% returns, which is similar to most insurance plans, but do not have this 12 to 14% return. If you want 12 to 14%, it is possible, it is feasible, but then you need to take the market risk. Remember, very simply, over the last 35 years, the market has given between 13 to 17% in every 10-year period. So if you take any 10-year period, the market will provide that return. And then the options left for you are mutual funds and ULIPs, because they will operate just under market returns, and they have the ability to provide you the 12 to 14% return, which over a long period of time becomes very valuable. Remember, every 2% difference in return over a 20-year period can double your return. So it becomes a very, very significant piece over a long period of time to have a higher return. And I would obviously advise everybody to invest alongside the markets because the traditional view is markets are risky, but they're only risky in the short term. They're not risky in the long term. In the long term, markets actually
and the term plan that he asks for also makes sense.
The term plan is a necessity. The term plan is a necessity. Remember, insurance is not about affordability. Insurance is about lack of affordability. It's about the risks that you cannot afford, the risks that the family cannot afford. That is why the first plans one has to have are life insurance, which is a term plan, just in case something unfortunate happens, the family gets the benefits and the proceeds so that the family can manage their expenses. Then you have critical illness. Then you have disability covers, because disabilities happen. They are a fact of life. They do happen. The possibility may be 2%, but the possibility is there, and they need to be covered for. And the fourth one would be a health insurance cover, because those are the things that have high affordability and lack of affordability, and hence one needs to cover those risks which one cannot cover or which will disrupt the normal course of life. And that's what insurance is for. Insurance is not for just making 12 to 14% returns, as somebody is mentioning.
Right, Yashish, that's all the time that we have on Policy Bazaar, but you can email us at ask@policybazaar.com, or you can tweet us at @policybazaar_in, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.